You weren't hurt by them. You were hurt by the version of them you invented. And the reason you can't let go isn't loyalty. It's the ego's refusal to admit you were wrong about who they were. You think you're attached because they mattered. You're not. You're attached because you decided they mattered, and your ego cannot tolerate being wrong. What you're mourning isn't the person, it's the story you wrote where they were cast as essential. That story was fiction, and fiction doesn't deserve grief. Emotional attachment in this context is not evidence of depth, it's evidence of investment. You sank time, vulnerability, hope, and identity into someone, and now your nervous system mistakes that expenditure for value. The brain doesn't distinguish between a worthy investment and a costly one. It only registers cost. So you stay tethered, not because the bond was real, but because walking away would mean admitting the investment was worthless. This is the first lens shift. Stop calling it connection. It's a sunk cost wrapped in sentiment. You're not healing from love. You're withdrawing from a bad trade. And the longer you pretend otherwise, the longer you remain a prisoner to your own narrative. Detachment begins when you accept this. They were never the anchor. You were. And you can pull it up whenever you choose. The hurt isn't them. It's you, refusing to let go of who you were when you needed them. You didn't stay because they were worth it. You stayed because leaving would require you to admit you were wrong about them from the beginning. And your ego will endure almost infinite pain before it admits that level of miscalculation. This is the sunk cost fallacy, and it doesn't just apply to money or time, it applies to identity. Every moment you spent trying to make it work, every compromise you justified, every red flag you ignored, these weren't mistakes. They were investments in a version of reality where you made the right choice. And now, even though the returns are negative, even though the cost is bleeding you dry, you keep doubling down. Because quitting means facing the truth. You bet on the wrong person, and you knew it long before the end. The pain you feel isn't about losing them. It's about losing the version of yourself who believed in them. That version of you, the one who thought loyalty and patience would be rewarded, who thought you could love someone into changing, that person has to die for you to detach. And you're resisting that death because it feels like failure. But it's not failure, it's correction. The only failure is continuing to defend a position that's already lost. Your ego is holding you hostage to protect itself from embarrassment. Detachment starts when you stop negotiating with it. There are 3 types of people who cannot let go. You are one of them. Identify which, and you'll understand why detachment feels impossible. The martyr suffers to prove worth. You believe that enduring pain demonstrates loyalty, depth, character. You've confused endurance with virtue. The more you tolerate, the more you convince yourself you're superior to those who would have walked away. But suffering doesn't make you noble, it makes you useful. To them, you're not admirable, you're available. The martyr stays because leaving would mean admitting the suffering was pointless, and pointless suffering is intolerable to the ego. The architect believes they can fix the person. You saw potential, not reality. You thought love, patience, or understanding could rebuild them into who they should be. But people aren't projects. You stayed because walking away would mean admitting you can't control outcomes, that your vision was irrelevant. The architect's attachment isn't to the person, it's to the blueprint. You're mourning the building you never got to finish. The hostage fears the void more than the pain. You stay because being alone feels like death. The relationship, no matter how destructive, provides structure, identity, distraction from yourself. You're not attached to them. You're terrified of what remains when they're gone. The hostage doesn't love the captor. They love the certainty of captivity. Which are you? This isn't weakness, it's biology weaponized against you. Your brain evolved to form attachments for survival, tribe, family, protection. But that same mechanism can be hijacked. When someone hurts you intermittently, when they give affection unpredictably, your brain doesn't register abuse. It registers scarcity. And scarcity creates obsession. This is intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful behavioral conditioning known to psychology. Slot machines use it, cults use it, Abusers use it. When reward is unpredictable, the brain becomes hypervigilant, desperate for the next hit. You're not attached to them. You're attached to the variable ratio of pain and relief they provide. Your dopamine system has been hijacked by inconsistency. Then there's trauma bonding. When someone becomes both the source of your pain and your comfort, the brain fuses the two. You associate them with survival because they wounded you, then soothe the wound. This is Stockholm Syndrome at the neurological level. Hostages defend their captors not out of stupidity, but because the brain cannot process someone as both threat and protector, so it chooses protector to maintain sanity. You are not special for feeling this. You are predictable. Evolution designed you to bond under duress, but evolution also designed you to adapt. The cage is neurological, not metaphysical, and neurology can be rewired. Detachment is not emotional, it's operational. You don't heal your way out. You starve the system that keeps you bound. Here's how. First, cut the narrative supply. Stop telling the story. Stop replaying conversations, analyzing their motives, imagining reconciliation or revenge. Every time you rehearse the past, you feed the attachment. The brain doesn't distinguish between real interaction and imagined interaction. Both produce the same neurochemical response. You're giving them access without their presence. End the storytelling. When the thought appears, do not engage. Redirect immediately. Starve it of attention. Second, eliminate all feedback loops. No contact. No checking their social media. No mutual friends updating you. No closure conversations. Closure is a myth designed to keep you engaged. You don't need their permission to leave. You don't need understanding. You need absence. Every piece of information about them is fuel. Cut the supply line entirely. Third, replace. Don't erase. The void they left is architectural. If you don't fill it with strategic self-interest, it will pull you back. This isn't about new relationships or distractions. It's about reclaiming the energy you were hemorrhaging into them. Redirect it into skill acquisition, physical sovereignty, financial power. The goal isn't happiness, it's occupation. An occupied mind cannot be colonized by ghosts. Detachment is not a feeling. It's a discipline. Execute it. The version of you that needed them must be destroyed. Not metaphorically, literally. That identity, the one that tolerated disrespect, that bargained for affection, that believed patience would be rewarded, is obsolete. And as long as it exists, you remain vulnerable to reinfection. You cannot detach and remain the same person. Detachment without transformation is temporary. You'll drift back because the old identity still has muscle memory. It still believes in second chances, in potential, in love as a currency that buys change. That belief system is what kept you trapped. If you don't dismantle it, you'll rebuild the same cage with someone new. This is not healing. This is execution. You must kill the part of you that was willing to negotiate your worth. The part that thought loyalty to others mattered more than loyalty to self. The part that mistook endurance for strength. These weren't virtues, they were vulnerabilities. And they were exploited. The new identity is non-negotiable. It does not plead. It does not wait. It does not invest in those who withdraw returns. It operates from sovereignty, not scarcity. This version of you doesn't get over people. It discards them the moment they prove incompatible with your trajectory. You were someone else when you needed them. That person is dead now. If you resurrect them, you'll end up exactly where you started. Let them stay buried. They didn't lose you. You escaped. And the difference matters. Loss implies value. Escape implies captivity. Frame it correctly. You were not a prize they fumbled. You were a resource they drained until you finally cut the line. There is no tragedy in your departure, only strategy. But here's the final warning. Regression is always possible. The old identity will whisper. It will tell you that maybe you overreacted, that maybe they've changed, that maybe loneliness is worse than the known pain. This is the ego trying to avoid the discomfort of sovereignty. Do not listen. The moment you entertain that voice, You're no longer detached. You're negotiating. And negotiation is how you ended up captured in the first place. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them understanding. You don't owe them a second chance or closure or explanations. You owe them nothing. And more importantly, you owe yourself the refusal to ever again become the person who thought they did. This is the threshold. Behind you is the version of you that could be hurt by someone unworthy. Ahead is the version that cannot. You cross it by never looking back. Not out of bitterness, out of indifference. They are irrelevant now, and irrelevance is the only true detachment. Move forward or remain prey. The choice was always yours.